All right, folks, let's go ahead and kick it off. Today is June 27, 2024. This is the meeting of the Kubernetes Storage Special Interest Group. And as a reminder, this meeting is public, recorded, and posted on YouTube. On the agenda today, we're going to go over the 131 planning items and get status updates. Then we'll go over any miscellaneous items to discuss. If you have anything that you want to share with the group, feel free to add to the agenda. You can find a link to the agenda doc in your meeting invite. So with that, I'll go ahead and kick it off and jump into the 131 planning spreadsheet, and let's start getting status updates. All right. So, trying to figure out what happened here. Okay, I'll figure out the first one. We'll skip over that and I'll look at that one afterwards. So we'll look at recovering from resize failure in 131. It's staying as alpha. Previous update here was metrics PR submitted, E2E in progress, bug fix. Any new updates here?
I think that's the second, that's the next row.
Is everything off by one?
Okay, let's see. Covering, so yeah, so how come the tablet should be Haman, right? This seems to be, this seems the row 3 seems to be should be voting group snapshot. The first one is precise failure.
Oh, I think I must have messed it up. Let me take
it. Looks like it's just the name.
Oh, just an extra. Okay. Looks like we've had an empty spot for a while.
Did I make any change? Is it me? Okay. Yeah. So maybe you just copy the feature to the top one. I think that should be. It looks like it's just that one, and the second one should be rolling group snapshot. Yeah.
Everything needs to be shifted up by one.
Oh no, I think it's just the first one, I believe, because row 3, that is voting group snapshot that has my name, that should be correct. Third one is the provision voting from cross namespace should be row 4, so that stays there. It looks like it's just the first one somehow. I don't know what
Got
happened.
Okay, so we'll leave that as is. So recover from resize failure. Any update on that one?
Herman is not there. I know Herman is looking at this one. He's working on this.
And let's move to the next one. Provision volumes from cross namespace.
I think the name of this feature, if you can copy from this to the one below.
Okay.
Yeah, and then 3 should be voting group snapshot. I think then it seems to be right after that.
Okay.
Right. So this one, we are working on. So metrics PR has already been merged, and the E2E test is work in progress. So I did add an item later. Can just ask folks to see if anyone is interested in implementing this feature in their CSI driver. So we are planning to move this feature to beta in 1.32.
Awesome. So it looks like the work for 131 is pretty close.
Right. Yeah.
Cool. Next one is provision volumes from cross namespace snapshot.
I've not heard anything about this one for some time.
Back either. Okay. Let's move to the next one, CSI volume health, additional metrics.
Yeah, so for this one, we do have a E2 test submitted that's being reviewed.
Okay. Next item is CBT, change block tracking.
Right, so this one, yeah, caps merge and the development is in progress. We do have a new repo. So for
Are they
some,
blocked on CSI cut?
oh yes, so right. So we do need that CSS spec release.
Sounds good. So that's coming soon. That should unblock them.
So that's gonna happen on Friday, that they're thinking?
I'm gonna try to get it done today.
Oh,
The ball rolling, and then Monday we'll do the final release.
Oh, great.
Yep.
Thanks.
Next one is enable privileged containers for Windows to replace CSI proxy for Windows out of tree. Alpha for this cycle. Anything new here? Do you have Eddie or Mauricio?
Yeah, no updates on this. Basically, yeah, the EBS CSI driver supports running the Windows node pod as a host process container using the CSI proxy v2, which is an alpha. And we're looking for another provider to implement that so that we can graduate it to beta.
Awesome. Thanks, Eddie. If there are folks on the call that are interested, please reach out to Eddie or Mauricio and they can help you with this. All right, next one is always honor reclaim policy.
Deepak, you want to give an update?
Yeah, we have a doc PR open, yeah, the only thing is there's a PR open on the external provisioner, which I kind of want to discuss at the end.
Cool, sounds good. Deepak, please feel free to add item to the agenda doc and we'll get to it afterwards.
I've added it, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Next is volume attribute class.
It seems like it's on track for the code freeze to still be promoted in beta to beta in 1.31.
Awesome. Thanks, Drew. And then we've got PV last transition time. Do we have Jan? Looks like this was in progress last time, but I'll go ahead and mark it as no update and we'll get an update next time. Next is storage capacity scoring.
So, yeah, there's a cap and review is still ongoing.
Cool, thank you, Shing. Next, we have co-owned with SIG apps volume expansion for stateful sets. This was presented at SIG apps meeting, but consensus not yet reached. Anything new here?
I think they still have not reached consensus. They will need to have further discussions. It looks like the SIG thinks the new cap they have make a lot of changes. The scope is kind of wide, so they want to limit that. So yeah, so more discussions are needed.
Cool. Thank you, Shing. Next is non-graceful node shutdown.
Yeah, unfortunately, this one has still no update.
And auto delete PVCs with stateful sets. I still need to check with Matt on this. Matt, you're not on the call, right? Okay. Next is cozy overall. Move to V1 alpha 2.
Oh, cozy. Okay. Yeah, so this is work in progress. Blaine is working on merging the repos into one, so he's working on that. Matthews is working on E2 tests.
Cool. Thank you, Shing. Next, we have CSI sidecar all in one. I think we got an update from Mauricio on this before. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think given that we had the demo on the last in the last meeting, I'm not sure how much more of an update there will be. They have a meeting today. I haven't had a chance to sync with them today yet. But one thing that I did want to kind of talk about this was in terms of the next steps. Like, you know, one of the reasons for doing the demo was to kind of make sure that everybody in SIG storage was aligned with respect to what our plans are for this feature, etc. So I think some of those are still in the process of being fleshed out fully, but just wanted to get a sense of like, do folks think that this is something that's worth pursuing at this point based on what they saw in the demo? And we don't have to decide on it right now, but it would be good to get that clarity at some point. So
I think it's worthwhile. But yeah, definitely it is a lot of effort too, right? So I think Marisha did talk a little bit about this in one of the CSS stand-up meetings. Sounds like we need to figure out like moving forward, how do you maintain, let's say, this all-in-one repo and those individual sidecars, right? How do you update? Like what's the
yeah, I think
doing that?
that's exactly what Mauricio and Connor and others are trying to basically figure out at this point in terms of what our strategy is going to be. So we did the POC. We've kind of got things to a point where we validated the overall approach. The next step will probably be to kind of productize that and also, like as you mentioned, figure out a plan for how are we going to maintain things until we get to the end goal, basically. So I think we'll wait to hear from Mauricio and Connor and others regarding what the overall strategy is going to be. But you know, from our perspective, it would be good if we can get some clear guidance from SIG Storage in terms of, yes, it makes sense to proceed forward, or no, this is not worth it, or something like that. So and like I said, we don't have to decide on that right now. So
is the end goal of this to run them all in the same container?
Yes, I think more than the same container, the end goal is to kind of have a single repository where all the code lives, so that it simplifies the overall maintainability and release process for getting new versions out for these sidecars.
Take a look
Yeah,
at the presentation. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say the main benefit, as I understand it, is reduced maintenance burden. like, of course, you could decide benefit of less RAM consumption with a mono binary. But I don't think anyone cares as much about that as they do just the sheer drudgery of doing releases and security fixes and dependency updates on all the different sidecars every single release.
Yeah,
So would this replace the existing structure for the external sidecars?
Yes,
That's my
everything will be
understanding.
merged into one. Yeah, so it's like they will have like subfolders.
Oh, okay.
The code, like everything under PKG should kind of stay the same. But I think under CMD probably they need to merge, right? Because there are multiple means right now.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense if it's replacing it. I think we could have further discussion on whether it should be a single binary. Because as far as I'm aware, you can run multiple binaries in the same container safely. So I think Mauricio, is that who we should contact for that discussion?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
All right, cool. Let's keep it moving. So the next item is volume populator data source. This was not started. It doesn't look like this got picked up this cycle. So I'm going to go ahead and cross it out for this release, and we'll pick it up next release. Okay, next is CSI migration for Ceph RBD and Ceph FS, removing them in 131. This was already completed. And then Portworx, target beta on by default in 131. Anything new on this one?
I think the code is already merged. I'll double check on the doc. So I think this is almost done.
Awesome. And then finally, we have removed dynamic provisioning support from host path in tree volume plugin.
Yeah, this one didn't make it. I think Clary said he does not have time to update the cap.
The PR was in review previously, but
I think it's a cap. He does not have
Ah.
real code.
okay.
It's the cap PR. And cap PR did not make it because I think he have not added the PRR section.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and cross it out for this section, and we can pick it up for the next release. All right, thanks a lot for the updates, and let's switch over to our agenda. So
Did we cover the volume group snapshots? Did I miss that?
I mentioned a little bit, but I added the item that we can discuss now in the agenda doc.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, first update, I'm going to try to cut the CSI next RC release, ideally today. And if all goes well, then the CSI next release should be cut next week, hopefully on Monday. So keep an eye out for that. The goal is to get this out before the next Kubernetes code freeze so that folks can use the updated version. Xing, do you want to talk about the next one?
Right, so we are working on moving Volume Group Snapshot to beta in 1.32. And one of the requirements to move that to beta is to have 2 vendors who have implemented Volume Group Snapshot in their CSI driver. So far, we have 1 vendor, which is IBM Red Hat. They have that in RBD and Ceph FS. So actually 2 drivers, but the same vendor. So we want to have at least 1 more vendor who have implemented this one. This way, we can show that this has been tried out by multiple vendors. No major problem.
so
move forward. Yeah, go ahead.
So any vendor that can support the volume group snapshots and would like to see this feature graduate can help by prototyping and implementation and offering feedback. I don't think it needs to be released. It just needs to be try it out and say like, yeah, this works. Because what we're looking for is design flaws in the API, because once it moves to beta, it's much harder to fix those. So If vendors like are implementing it and saying like, yes, this design doesn't cause any problems implementation wise, that's the feedback we really need. And a released version is the best way to do that, but a prototype can also help. All right, whoever's talking is on mute because that's all I had to say.
Just taking notes, Ben. Thank you.
Okay.
Cool. So yeah, folks, if you are interested in seeing volume group snapshot move to beta, please help implement this and find any concerns and issues with it, and we'll take it from there. Next up, Deepak, you want to talk about this one?
Yeah, so we have an open issue on the external provisioner. So basically with 5.01, they marked the feature gate as beta, so it is default enabled. I think some of the folks tried it. And what they observe is for a statically provisioned volume, the PV remains in a terminating state. This is a bit odd for me, like if you see the latest update. Yeah, I mean, just to give a little bit of a context for a statically provisioned volumes, now there's a new finalizer that is going to be added onto the PV. And we make sure the PV is removed from the external provisioner. External provisioner makes sure the PV is removed, after the volume gets deleted. Now the setup which they used is a old Kubernetes version, I think 1.29. And what they observed was the PV moves into terminating state. Something's odd here because actually on the external provisioner, and I asked them to can you do the same experiment with 4.0.1 like the previous external provisioner and see the behavior. And what they observed was the PV does get deleted, everything's fine. But what's particularly odd is the error which comes out, right? Like if you see the one of the updates by Kalari, right? It is supposed to go into the fade state. If you see I think if you scroll down, down. Yeah, if you see here, right? And actually my last comment, if you see my last comment, the last comment, I posted the code there. Yeah, so if you see here, right, the one thing that triggers is, finding this deletable plugin by spec. This is in the old case here. And this eventually figures out that there's no deletable plugin. And this error comes up. And every time this error comes up, and you can see this update volume with phase, it is supposed to move into volume failed event, volume failed state. We should have been seeing this issue previously, but if we go see the external provisional log, somehow the volume states that it is in release state. So I'm not sure. So if you see the logs on top, if you scroll up a little bit, just a little bit, right? Yeah. So if you see here, the PV external provision actually logs the whole PV, right? And if you see in the last line at 13.030, right, it says that the PV is in release state, but the error doesn't translate into the volume fade state on the PV, which is particularly odd, and I'm not sure why that is happening.
Is this reproducible with any CSI plugin or just a specific CSI plugin?
Just the 5.02, the latest one.
No, the sidecar version, but I'm asking about which CSI plugin is affected, because I'm wondering if the CSI plugin behavior matters here, whether there's a bug, like an item potency bug that's causing this behavior, or if it's purely the sidecar and any CSI plugin would suffer from this.
That I'm not sure, because I think the IBM folks have been helping us reproduce it, but I can try to take a look at from the CSI, vCSI side and see if it's reproducible there.
Yeah, I mean, if we can reproduce this with multiple CSI plugins, then obviously the sidecar is at fault. But if not, then we have to be suspicious that maybe that CSI plugin is just not spec compliant, and or it's doing idempotency wrong or something, and that the sidecar's behavior, maybe it changed, but maybe it's still correct. And maybe the CSI plugin was relying on some undocumented behavior or something. I don't know.
Yeah, but what I still don't understand, that doesn't really explain why the volume didn't move into fade state, right? Like the KCM is supposed to move volume into fade state. Is there any reason it wouldn't move into a fade state? I just am not like able to reason that out.
I thought
The log says that there is an error there, and the immediate next code that is supposed to move, that is supposed to be executed, is moving into a fade state. So my argument is this should have been seen in all versions, like all Kubernetes, KCMs, all external provisioner. Why is it that we're seeing in 5.0?
I remember there was like a vague memory. I might be wrong about this, but I believe there was an explicit decision to say if a volume is statically provisioned, it should never be touched by automatic deprovisioning. And it should only be manually deprovisioned. And I believe that code might be what's causing issues here, but I'm not 100% confident on that. We might need to go do some research to go and figure out the history. I don't know, Shing, if you remember, if we had Jan or Michelle, they probably would have a good answer here.
Yeah, I think the static provision, I think we do have some different handling, but I also need to take a closer look and see what that is.
Yeah, but that changes with this feature gate, right? Like with this feature gate, we want to honor the reclaim policy. So it's definitely behavior change, and this was like documented in the gap itself. So if you did want to retain your statically provisioned volumes, yeah, make sure the reclaim policy is, retained.
Which KEP are you talking about? Are you talking about the changing the retention policy after the fact, or?
Honor PV reclaim policy. I forgot the cap number. Just give me a second.
On the deletion policy, right?
Yeah.
On the PV deletion policy or
Yeah.
reclaim policy.
On a PV reclaim policy. Where's the cap number? Yeah, it is 2644. Maybe I'll post it in the chat.
That's the cap you wrote, right? Like
Yeah.
the
Yeah. So if you see statically provisioned volumes would be the same as dynamically provisioned volumes. But yeah, the goal is to get the underlying volume data from backend storage. Okay, I think what I do is I'd like to, I'll try to see if this is kind of reproducible in the vSphere CSI driver. I'll get a test bed and try to check that out. Yeah, apart from that, I'm not sure how do I proceed.
Well, if Saad is correct about a change being added in the most recent version for statically provisioned volumes, we can go back into commit history and see what the change did, and maybe by looking at what code was altered, figure out how it messed up this code path. Because that does, if that's true, I don't remember that change, but if it was made in the last sidecar, you can imagine how a bug in that change would cause this to happen.
That's not a recent change, right? So the like the handling of static provision volumes. I
It's
believe
not
that-
recent?
Yeah, because that has been there for a while, right? Saad, this is not like a very new thing.
And
But
another,
even if not, I mean, we can just look at the
Mhm.
commits between the release where this was good and the release where this broke, and see if
Mhm.
anything affected the delete code path. Look for bugs.
so with, and in the latest, like one suggestion which KCM, like which Kaleri had, is in the KCM, we kind of don't look for this deletable plugin, etc. If it is either a statically provisioned volume, CSI volume, or a migrated volume. So that was kind of a fix which Kaleri did, and somebody opened a bug on KCM regarding this, and we had that fix, but it is guarded by a feature K. And Kaleri actually had a suggestion saying that we need to perhaps remove the feature gate and actually backport it to previous releases. And I think that is valid in many ways, right? Like because I wouldn't hurt any other workforce is my understanding. But again, I don't really understand this volume plugin stuff quite well to say it has no effects. So if you see one of the comments on the issue, Karli has kind of spoken about this.
Is this functionality purely in the upstream Kubernetes code, or are there changes needed to the driver as well?
No changes needed for the driver.
Got it.
Yeah. I said no changes needed to driver. It's purely upstream. Yeah. Yeah, what do you think about, having this change? Is backporting is that an option? I'm just curious about it. If we do take that path, what do we do? How does this
I
work?
mean, if we identify that there's a real bug, and there's a reason that we need to get the fix into older versions because CSI plugins can't upgrade to the version with the fix, then yeah, backports are on the table. But we need to prove what the bug is and why it's safe to backport it.
Okay. Okay, I'll spend some time on this and yeah.
Yeah, thank you for looking into it. I suspect that there's a real regression here.
Yeah, there's a real regression, and I'm a bit because the new provisioner seems to have broken, statically provisioned volume workflows for some of the CSI drivers, and I was a bit concerned on what steps we need to take next.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this up, Deepak.
Yep.
All right, let's move on to Eddie.
Hey, yeah, so for the last couple of years, we've seen users report up to 6-minute delays with their stateful workloads, even when their nodes are gracefully terminated. And this happens because the CSI driver node plugin gets terminated before it's able to unmount volumes. So we have to wait for the attach detach controller to issue a force detach. So we have a PR to address that, and it received an approval from Hamont. So I'm bringing it up here for two reasons. So one is if we could get somebody else from SIG storage to also take a look and +1 it and help with getting the right SIG node people engaged. And the second is that we can't exercise the end-to-end test because today there is no full cluster E2E test that enables the graceful node shutdown functionality. So there's a separate PR to enable that. And if somebody could help with getting that through so that we can exercise the end-to-end test.
Yeah, and just to add to what Eddie was saying, the fix builds on top of some of the changes that Mauricio had originally proposed a while back. And I think in terms of the approach, at least there is consensus, and we do have some approvals already from some of the folks, but we're looking to close on that and kind of get these changes merged in. So.
Cool. And who's looked at it so far?
From SIG storage, we have Amont, and we're trying to get the right SIG node people to take a look as well.
Got it. Okay. I think we can tag Jan and Michelle to help take a look here as well.
Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
Cool. I'll follow up with them offline. Anything else to discuss today, folks? All right, if there's nothing else, we'll end a little bit early today. Thank you.
Thanks, Saad.
Thanks, folks.